Wednesday. Thank you for joining us. Another very special edition of the Carton Show. We have a great show for you today, especially those of you that are listening right now on Sirius Channel.
Oh, yeah!
What's up? That guy right there is David Jacoby. Oh. This handsome fella right here is Super Bowl champion, Mr. William Colon. It is Wednesday. It is time for Wednesday morning headlines. People in Dallas are very sensitive to criticism. That's what I'm learning today, because the best defensive player maybe on the planet, Micah Parsons, is upset that people like to criticize not just the Dallas Cowboys, but specifically Dak Prescott. Check it. I don't condone the trashing of Dak Prescott, and the Dallas Cowboys have the same energy for the Eagles. If y'all just gonna hate Cowboy Nation, just say y'all hate Cowboy Nation. All right. I hate Cowboy Nation. What do you want me to tell you? But it's not the Cowboys we all dislike. It's Cowboy fans that we dislike. And if Micah doesn't like it, become a garbage man. What do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, he has to understand, when you come off back-to-back 12-5 win seasons and show up with nothing in as far as a championship or a Super Bowl, you're gonna receive criticism. And Jerry Jones is the mouthpiece of this organization, and he doesn't make it any better.
Or might I say this to young Micah Parsons? Maybe you should tell Trevon Diggs not to call your quarterback a bitch.
That hurts. Yeah,
perhaps that would be a good conversation to have at some point going into this season. But look, you can't play both sides of the coin. You can't talk about I'm an MVP, I'm winning Super Bowls, I'm hosting podcasts, right, I'm out there doing commercials, et cetera, and then not want any of the smoke that comes with the attention.
Yeah, but that also comes with when you're an outfit as the Dallas Cowboys. You talk about Dak getting the scrutiny for just being a quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. It comes with it. Heavy wears the crown, right? So for me, I'm looking at Mike, I'm like, if you don't want the criticism, to your point, stop talking. Cut the podcast.
I mean, it's very easy, very easy. And that's one of the headlines. We got a lot of Cowboy stuff coming up because Jerry Jones spoke again yesterday. Oh. We'll get to that in just a bit. Headline number 2, off the heels of us talking to Robert Saleh yesterday, Aaron Rodgers then did his I make $2 million to talk on TV interview, and he came out and said, yes, I am very much ahead of schedule, but there are a lot of hurdles to come through in my near future, and I can speak to it. I was at the game on Sunday, and while, yes, it looks great to see him throwing a football, I saw him walking on the sideline. It is a pronounced limp, and the notion that he's coming back anytime soon or even this year is something that we get a little crazy about.
Well, he said in that, he's like, well, there's some hurdles and some benchmarks I need to meet. First is walking. Okay. Without a limp, okay. Then jogging. That's why I gave up. I was like, all right, if we're not at the jogging right now, like, what are we really talking about?
Yeah, he's not jogging yet. You can talk about all the new technology medically and all the things they did with the bridge and this and that. But the reality is this. It looks good. It makes us dream the impossible dream. But the reality is this. Zach Wilson is the Jets quarterback, at least for the next couple of months. And when we get to December, assuming the Jets are playing meaningful games, we can then check back in with Aaron Rodgers.
But at the same time, when you talk about a guy who's already promised to come back next year, wouldn't you want him to be more safe about how he operates? Like for me, when you walk off, when you leave the building, and listen, and you're spot on. I know multiple people that was at the game. The first thing is like, man, that dude's still limping around.
Yeah, and with a pronounced limp.
Right, and if you're standing on the sideline, and I'm sitting there with even though he has a headset on, I'm like, if somebody rolls up on his legs, he can't get out the way. So I know Saleh said yesterday, we let Aaron Rodgers do what Aaron Rodgers wants to do. Yep. But I would step in and be like, hey, I love that you're around the guys, but let's put you in a safety zone. Let's have you up in the booth, and you can still wear the headset.
To be fair, there were a lot of moments where he was also sitting on the bench, so in theory out of harm's way. But it's that little hint of possibility that keeps us Jet fans pining for the reality that one day Aaron Rodgers, number 8, is going to be our starting quarterback. Look, we got a great show for you today. We're even going to give you a little update coming up on the injuries at San Francisco that they're all concerned about. But we'll start you off with some Dallas Cowboy fodder. And during the break, I'll try to keep these guys under control. They're begging me to play Olivia Rodrigo music, and I'm not quite sure.
Great music.
I'm not quite sure I want to do that today. Back in for this. All right, we're back. It's the Carton Show. Good morning to you. As always, Greg Jennings, Shore, and just Green Bay Packer.
welcome back, buddy. Welcome back.
Today is a good day to have Greg here because we're going to talk about sensitive, insecure athletes.
Great.
Good to have Greg's perspective on that as a wide receiver. They are the biggest prima donnas, as you know, on the planet.
Oh, okay.
When Micah Parsons comes out yesterday.
What'd you typically say? He chose violence?
He chose violence.
Already?
Yeah.
I saw John Wick last night. I'm ready to go.
I love John Wick.
Here's Micah Parsons. If you're just tuning in, not happy with the negativity and the criticism, not just of Dak Prescott, but the Dallas Cowboys. What bothers me about this is like Micah just woke up yesterday as if he traveled here from another planet and was unaware of the Dallas Cowboys' place in the landscape of professional sports in this country.
Yep.
There are only 3 or 4 teams across all sports that get the type of attention and glare that the Dallas Cowboys get. Plus, Greg, they just won a game in front of a national TV audience. Why is Micah Parsons suddenly chirping about the smoke that the Dallas Cowboys get?
Yeah, this is interesting because that's kind of the takeaway that I had. Like, Micah, you play for the Cowboys.
Right, check.
You guys are heralded as America's team.
Check that
You're the
box.
most talked about on every network. Like, let's be real. You play well. We celebrate it, and we're going to critique it. You play poorly, we're definitely going to critique it and pick it apart. But the part that trips me out is I didn't really pay attention to the actual word choice that he
but here's what I would get,
I
Greg.
don't condone it. You can't do anything about it.
We actually discussed prior to the game, and it may have been a silly conversation in retrospect, was it a must-win game for the Dallas Cowboys, right? So the Dallas Cowboys, let's assume for a second you're right, and it was a must-win game, because if they lose, it's 2 weeks of nonsense, off-the-field nonsense about Dak, about Micah, all that stuff, right? So they win a game that they had to win, and to his credit, as we said yesterday, Dak Prescott played well. Was the greatest quarterback in the world, but he played very well, very competent, had a couple touchdowns, almost threw for 300 yards, had this big 12-yard scamper for a touchdown that gave the Cowboys, the ultimate edge in beating the Chargers. Everything is good right now. You got to 4 wins. You have the second best record in the NFL. You're feeling really good about yourselves. Why are you being sensitive now to criticism that happened yesterday, not today?
Because prior to this game, he listened to everybody talk about how bad they were against the 49ers, right? So it's almost like, once I win this game, I'm going to tell you we're still them. We're better, right? And this is what you got to also understand as a ball player, because I got to be honest, I was a bit sensitive as a ball player.
Were you?
Yeah. I took a lot of things personal, and it helped me, it fueled me, right? Because I was a kid that came out of Hofstra, a small school. I got to the Steelers in 2005 after just winning the Super Bowl, and there's times I was on the field like, what am I doing here? I'm looking at Troy Polamalu and all those guys, and it fueled me to take things personal. But as a unit, as an offensive unit, especially the year we won a Super Bowl, I remember in the paper they said, if the Steelers don't win a Super Bowl, it's going to be because of this group. And it had the offensive line plastered right on the front page. And I was like, why? And then as we went through the games, I was like, well, they are kind of right. We gave up, 9 sacks against the Eagles. So to my point is, it's okay to take things personal, but understand when there's smoke, there's fire.
But there's also 2 different things. There's you guys using the media's criticism or the fans booing you to empower you playing better, to have that chip on your shoulder.
Right.
It's another thing to complain and cry about, the way you're covered, right? You use it as fuel.
I did.
He's complaining about it. And to be fair, of all the guys on this team to complain, Micah Parsons has been heralded as the greatest player in football.
He started the season talking.
Oh, is he Lawrence Taylor?
We talked about Lawrence Taylor.
Right, remember that conversation? Yeah. So it's one thing if Dak Prescott came out and said, you know what, I know, as you just said, heavy is the head that wears the crown, and I'm the quarterback of the Cowboys, and I don't like it, but it blah blah blah. I get it, right? But Micah Parsons has been celebrated as the greatest defensive player in the sport. Nobody has ever been critical of his performance. What's he upset about?
Yeah, and another issue that I tend to have with this is, when things are going well, we don't hear things like this. We don't hear players say, man, you guys need to slow down. You need to calm down. It's only 2 games. It's only 3 games. You guys are talking Super Bowl. You're talking MVP, and it's only week 1, week 2.
Right.
We don't hear any of that.
Never.
Never.
And I would just say to Micah Parsons, if you want to see what it's like to deal with negativity all day, every day, just take over my Twitter account for a couple hours, and you'll know exactly what it's like to be criticized.
What I want to say to Micah is the focus is because he played for the Dallas Cowboys, right? Like Josh Allen, for not the quarterback. Josh Allen, he's a great rusher, great edge rusher. He's got similar numbers to Micah Parsons. No one talks about him. Why? He's not on the Cowboys.
Right.
And you get that attention because you're on the Cowboys. I've been in media forever. Guess what? Cowboys rates. You know what? In the middle of July, it could be like Game 7 of the NBA Finals that night. But what's about Dak Prescott's contract update? That's what we're going to do. And the thing is, it's Micah. What I want to say to Micah is it's a blessing and a curse.
Yep.
You're right. But it's 90% blessing. And don't focus on the 10% curse part. You're going to get endorsements. You're going to get talked about. You're going to get MVP conversation, DPO-wise, because you have that star in your helmet and because you're good, but also because you have the star in your helmet.
Also, you have a podcast, right? And when you have a podcast and you open yourself up to that type of criticism, but also, when I was with the Steelers, man, not everybody was allowed to talk. I don't know if that's a rule that should be a rule because it seems like everybody that comes out of the locker room has something to say.
That's the new age. That's the new age athlete.
And I know everybody was just like in Pittsburgh. If you were that guy or paid like that guy, here's the mic.
Right.
If you wasn't, shut your ass and go back there. Right? That's how it was.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Well, listen, the world has changed in that regard also.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a podcast. Everyone's got a mic in their face.
Yep.
Everybody's got a
Twitter
platform.
account.
Everyone's got social media. You guys actually, compared to today's athlete, are a different generation. You guys may have had a microphone in your face, you more than Willie, only because you would score touchdowns, you're an offensive lineman. But if you guys played today, there's no doubt that you'd be coming on our show going, and let me promote GregJennings.com, and I have a podcast called 85 is a Rock Star, and whatever other nonsense.
Put it on my back.
And you'd have had probably a barbecue company.
Hey,
and,
I like barbecue.
I don't sound like that.
I love it. Not even. You and James Jones would have had like a dueling podcast. Yeah. It would have been great. What would you have called it?
Bumping cheese.
Going deep. Going deep.
Going deep. Yeah.
Always open.
They said it. I can't say that on TV. I'm not going to say.
Don't say it, Craig.
Don't say it.
Don't say it.
Do
Whatever you're about to do, don't do it.
All right. It was an Ice Cube song. All right. In any event, coming up, we got you know which one it was. Yep. Coming up, I hate to say it. I know the Eagles and Dolphins is only could be the greatest diss track of all time. Yeah. All right. The Eagles Dolphins coming up is maybe the marquee game of the week. But when I see the word Eagles on the bottom of my screen, it makes me detest Philadelphia. And yet, last night again, I fell in love. We'll explain right after this. Also, last night, some baseball. I hate to say it because you guys know how I feel about Philadelphia, right? Not a big fan, as you know. But there's something about Citizens Bank Ballpark when it comes playoff time. That place is awesome. I'm envious. I'm jealous. And yeah, I wish I rooted for that team. I really do. They are fun to watch. They got the best player in baseball. Last night, they win 10-0, and they beat the Arizona Diamondbacks. But it's not the game itself that I want to show you a clip from. It's the fact that the Eagles have found a new middle linebacker. Last night, as a fan, runs on the field. But wait till you see it from the other side if you guys don't mind. Fan running. Here comes security. Yikes.
That's a wrapped up form tackle.
That is a perfect tackle. One more time. The best part of it, though, is the Phillies' reaction. So the Philly players are watching this dude run. They're like, come on, Billy, you can make it. You can make it. And then when he gets clotheslined right there.
Gotta love it.
And yet some dummy's going to do it again tonight. And they're going to be uber famous for a minute.
So you know what's my question? When I see fans do that, what's the end game?
You get
is the end game to run on the field and just get smashed and blindsided? Like, how do you expect you to get off the field?
You're not. It's rare to get off the field. The only guy that everyone supported in doing it was the guy that did it to propose to his girlfriend. I think that was in Philadelphia also, as a matter of fact. And they laid that guy out. But I think, Willie, little secret, they're drunk.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. Sober people don't make that decision.
Allegedly. We don't know for sure.
Anyhow, I should mention that Philadelphia also has a 2-0 lead in that series. So we look right now for the moment that we're on a collision course between Philadelphia and Texas for the World Series, which you can watch exclusively on Fox. Back to football now. First in football. And everybody loves it because Jacoby gets to play it.
Yes, I do. And we're going to talk about Mike McCarthy. The Cowboys got a big win against the Chargers. However, McCarthy attributed that to the big loss they had the previous week that we all remember to the 49ers. Here is what the head coach had to say.
It was an experience, and I'll tell you what, the most important thing was to have a respondents, and we responded. We responded in a big way. So, that was a tough game on a lot of fronts. It was a team that was coming out of the body. They threw a lot at us. I mean, they threw, on both sides of the ball. So, particularly their defense. We saw a lot of scheme. A lot of tendency breakers. So we'll be better for it.
So he called the game against the 49ers an experience. I would call it a butt kicking, but they did bounce back and beat the Chargers. As they head into the bye week, what is the Cowboys' sort of outlook on their season right now?
I think it's really good. I think they learned a lot about themselves in coming back and playing. Well, he's right, a tough game. That wasn't an easy, 40-0 blowout like they opened the season with against the Giants. You have to remember this. This was kind of new territory for the Dallas Cowboys in this respect. The last two times they lost to the San Francisco 49ers, there wasn't a game the next week.
Yeah.
So they lost the game and had to sit there in it for the entire offseason. This was the first time they lost to San Francisco and had a game the next week to try to get rid of that stink from losing to San Francisco. Yeah. And let's not, undersell it. That game was significant. It doesn't determine whether or not they go to a Super Bowl or have home field advantage or any of that stuff. But the ability to rebound after a loss to the team that is your bugaboo and win on the road against a team that can score a lot of points, that is a significant win for not just Dak Prescott, but for Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, it's hugely significant. And as a kid, when I grew up, my parents would discipline me. I know my parents are watching the show. Whatever method you guys chose, regardless of the method, it was going to warrant a response. And that response typically was going to put me in alignment for a period of time. That is what happened to the Dallas Cowboys. The 49ers lost. They got their butts beat. And it put them into alignment. Regardless of who they were going to play the following week, we were going to see a completely different outfit, a completely different Dak Prescott, a completely different defense, all the things. And we don't know how long we'll get it, but Mike McCarthy understands that it takes that sometimes for us to identify we don't have the stuff that doesn't stink. Our stuff stinks at times too, and we better keep it correct.
Look, you guys played it. You know what it's like. Joe Burrow has spoken to this. I think Robert Saleh yesterday spoke to it, and Mike McCarthy's speaking to it. There is such a significant difference going into a bye week off a win versus a loss, number one. And number two, the difference between 2-4 and 3-3 or 3-3 and 4-2 is huge.
Right. And on top of that, listen, the old cliche is pressure bust pipes, right? That's one thing. And the pressure was on Dak Prescott to see how he was going to respond. He responded to play with a sense of urgency. The pressure was on Micah Parsons. How are you going to impact the game? Because you was null and void against the Niners. You had a crucial sack in a key moment. The pressure was on the secondary of these Dallas Cowboys because we know the Chargers offense, they can light up points, especially with their receivers. They had a big pick by Stephon Gilmore. So overall, the pressure was on key players on that team, guys who they call leaders to respond, and they responded. So I'm glad he had a chance to look in the mirror. I'm glad that they was able to bounce back. But overall, needless to say, man, is how they respond, keep moving forward.
But now's the interesting thing, right? Because there are some teams, take Andy Reid coach teams, coming off a bye week, they never lose. Yep. You can look it up. I think he's got like one loss in the last 40 times they've come off a bye week. Cowboys go into the bye week feeling good about themselves. You come out of the bye week, put that schedule up again, Moose, thank you, buddy. You've got the Rams playing very competitive football, and then you've got their first opportunity to tell the Eagles what you think about them, and don't think Philly doesn't have that game circled, because they do. So, you answered the first bell. Give the Dallas Cowboys credit. Big win to get to 4-2. You have a look-ahead game in Week 8 because the Eagles are on the other side, and then you get a 2-week break. So, you do. The Giants are embarrassing. The Carolina Panthers are going 0-17 this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how we all respond to the Cowboys if they lose those games or one of those two games against the Rams and the Eagles, with the acknowledgement that whatever they do in Week 8 and Week 9, they're going to win in Weeks 10 and 11. So the Cowboys are going to be this roller coaster type scenario if they lose. And I'll flip the script on that. If the Dallas Cowboys come out of that bye week and they beat the Rams and the Eagles, there is going to be Cowboy hysteria like we've not seen in a couple of years. Because then you're beating the Giants, you're beating the Panthers, you're winning 4 in a row, and then you're sitting there at 8-2, and you're in first place in the NFC East, and you might be in the driver's seat for home field advantage. These next 2 weeks are huge, and when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys.
All I know is if the Cowboys lose, I will not criticize them because Micah Parsons does not
He's
like
very,
it.
very
Moving
sensitive.
on to second down, we start with some news from Philadelphia. The Eagles have signed that guy.
Why?
Julio Jones. Because he
old.
is friends with A.J. Brown, and they're kind of thin at the receiver position. However, that allows us to discuss the game of the week that is the Eagles against the Dolphins. Julio might help the Eagles offense, but what can the Eagles defense do to slow down the Dolphins offense?
They better play better against them than they did against the Jets. I can tell you that because when the Jets needed to make a play with Zach Wilson, although he didn't make a lot of them, he made a play. Whether it's a 40-yard pass down the right sideline out of his own end zone to Garrett Wilson or a big play to Tyler Conklin or not stopping a big run from Breece Hall, right? The Eagle defense did not make the play that they had to make. And I say that with all due respect to Hassan Reddick, who tried to. And he's a badass player. But there's 2 parts to this, right? I don't think the Eagles are going to be able to stop the Dolphin offense. Because other than the Bills, nobody has, right? So we need to see someone do it again before you can predict that the Eagles are going to be good enough to do it. It's the best matchup of the week, Jacoby. You're right about that. But I'm trying to figure out why in the world the Eagles felt the need to add a guy whose days are done. Like Julio Jones can't play NFL football anymore. He can't stay on the field. Injuries happen. He's an older player now. He flamed out miserably last year. And to me, this is panic. This is an offense saying publicly, there's something wrong with us. We're not quite sure if we want to admit what it is. So let's make everybody feel good by adding a name. Julio Jones was a borderline Hall of Fame wide receiver. He's a name.
Yeah.
All right? So I'm looking at saying to myself, if I've got A.J. Brown and I got Devontae Smith, I never heard of those other guys.
So you're injured away from some of those other guys.
But why am I bringing in a veteran player that can't stay on the field, whose best days are behind him? This is the first chink in the Eagle armor that I've seen since Nick Sirianni became the head coach. They don't need Julio Jones. He's not going to help them. This is a panic move by the Eagles.
I agree with you. This is a panic move because you go back to that game. If you talk about the 2 turnovers, one was C.J. Mosley punching out the ball, got to take care of the ball. The other one was Dallas Goedert. The ball hit off his knee into Quentin Williams' hands. But on top of that, man, if they would have simply ran the ball better, they beat the Jets. Bottom line, they just ran away from the run game.
I think DeAndre Swift had like 10 carries.
Yeah,
if you're playing the Dolphins, running the ball is going to be so important to keeping that offense off the field.
But now, also to be fair, Devontae Smith drops the ball, which he might have gone 30, 40 yards for and an easy first down. And late in the game, A.J. Brown dropped the ball that almost got intercepted, Greg.
Yeah, for me, I don't think it's a panic move. It's a move that you feel like you need to make to give yourself depth. Obviously, Quez Watkins going on IR.
Yeah.
You understand you're getting thin. You're an injury away from not having a guy who has proven that they can actually make plays in this game. So you go get a guy that feels like I can still play. I want to play. Put him on practice squad, see what he brings, and then if the opportunity presents itself, you have a guy that's ready-made. I get it. All the injuries, the age, all of those things play into it. I don't think they're going to rely on Julio Jones, but he has, like you mentioned, he has a relationship with A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
They played together in Tennessee. They know one another. They understand that there's a relationship there.
But why do I care about that? It's not like he's got a relationship with the quarterback. He's friends with another wide receiver. And oh, by the way, if Julio Jones gets a target and A.J. Brown doesn't, we know what's going to happen on the sideline. He's my boy, but I want the football. Yeah. This is a crack in the armor. This is a panic move, and I love it. Because the New York Jets created it. They went home down I-95 saying, how did we lose?
We're not good enough.
That's exactly what they said.
So let's go out there and get an old wide receiver who can't stay healthy and hasn't had a good year in 4 years. all of a sudden Julio Jones. Oh, it's so funny. I mean, why not bring back Harold Carmichael?
He's on their practice squad.
Maybe what?
He's on their practice squad.
What?
But eventually he's going to play.
On the practice squad?
Hey, guess what? I just got a phone call. Freddie Mitchell's available.
Right.
Go back and get FedEx Fred. Yeah. Okay.
Moving on to third down, and especially from Willie and Greg, I need some help with this one. Alvin Kamara and the Saints lost to the Texans. Remember, Kamara started the season on a suspension, and here he is criticizing his teammates' preparation. Let's listen to the running back for the Saints.
I don't know what everybody else is doing to prepare, but there's a certain type of sacrifice that you have to make to be able to come out here and to play at a certain level, at an elite level. So I just hope everybody's doing that. We just need to find a way to win.
Willie, what is he trying to say to his teammates? What message is he sending?
That they're not playing up to standard. You got to talk about Alvin Kamara, man. He's been a part of a large part of their success as a franchise, right? You talk about he holds the touchdown record. So this guy's been a part of winning football. And if you go back to that Texas game, they made 3 or 4 trips to the red zone and only come away with 3 points. That's a Texas team they should have blew out, and they didn't. So for me, I think I'm looking at him saying he's right. Sometimes when you're a leader, you got to start pulling guys' ears and you got to start tugging on coats because there's a standard in which you expect to play, especially on offense. When you have Derek Carr, you have Michael Thomas, you have all these weapons that should be racking up points, and you don't do it against the Texans outfit. Valid, they're playing scrappy and they're doing decent, but at the end of the day, they should have beat the Texans. They should at least walked away with 28 points on the board that they didn't.
I'm with Greg, so I'm going to let Greg go first. Go ahead.
Greg, why are you making that face?
Because this is hard for me. Like, if I'm in that locker room and that's Alvin Kamara saying all this, and you missed these first 6 games because first 4 games because of something that you did that showed us, are you really committed to us and our brand? And
yeah, but he apologized. He got in a fight in the offseason.
I understand all of that. I'm just saying, optically, it's not the right person to even be delivering this message.
This guy holds records within the organization.
I don't care what records you hold.
No, when you're a guy, and he's not just any guy. He's not a young guy. He's not a new guy. He's one of the leaders on that team. He's allowed to have an opinion.
And what is Alvin Kamara doing right now?
Nothing. He's averaging less than 4 yards a carry. So he's only got 1 touchdown. And by the way, as we speak about Alvin Kamara, who became a big-time name in the league, Alvin Kamara, fine for me the year he rushed for 1,000 yards. Let me know when he was the greatest running back in football.
A lot of balls out of the back.
You're going to keep searching because the answer is he never has. And Alvin Kamara, who attacked a man in an elevator in Vegas and was suspended, rightfully so for it, coming in talking about, I question the other guy's work ethic and preparation for games. Alvin Kamara has not rushed for 200 yards yet this year. He has 1 touchdown, and he's averaging less than 4 yards a carry. So let's hold that mirror up. What are you doing to make the Saints better?
Yeah, but a lot of that was his injuries. That's why he was out. But my point is, when you hold a touchdown record, when you're one of the faces, when you wear the C on your chest, he's not allowed to say his team needs to be better.
Anyone's allowed to say anything.
You are. But if you don't, I'm with Craig on this 100%. If you don't hold that mirror in front of your face and tell me what you need to be doing to be better, and then talk about, collectively as a team, I didn't see anywhere in there where he's talking about himself.
This is also a man who's in the locker room. Like, we all know, Craig, you being the head of the pirate ship, like, you know who's putting work. You know who's doing their job and who's not. You know who's showing up prepared and who's not. So I'm okay with him saying, man, I'm in the building. I know when Drew Brees is here, it was Marcus Colston and yada, 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 how we used to go to work. I look at this team now, and I realize we're not going to work. That's not the standard this organization set years after years.
I'm with you on that. I think what Greg is saying, and I'm with him on this, is if you simply started it off by saying, and it starts with me.
Yes.
Then everything else you say after that is acceptable and fine. Look, I didn't live in a locker room like you guys did, but I know guys who lived in locker rooms, and you guys have one similarity. You're type A guys. You're competitive guys. And when another dude in your locker room comes out publicly and now questions my work ethic, I got a problem with it.
Period. Like, that's just the way it's going to be taken. If we're in the locker room, Willie, and you know this, like, and you're standing next to, the reporters are right there around his locker and everybody else's. And you hear your teammates saying, I don't know what these guys doing, man. But you go, literally, the look on your face is going to be like, what is he talking about? And everybody else is going to follow suit.
He has never made comments like this. You know what I mean?
This is not usual
This
for
is
him.
not what he does. So for my point is, when you have that one-off, it makes me go, maybe there's something there.
Yeah, I will say this. If I was Derek Carr, I would not go near an elevator if that guy's in the building. I would avoid that like the plague because you just
never know.
You just never know. I'm sorry. Like, it happened. I saw it.
I love how Jacoby and Greg always clutch their pearls every time you talk. Like, this is what Craig does.
Listen, coming up, Jerry Jones has spoken about the Dallas Cowboys' big win against the Chargers, and the Buffalo Bills are in panic mode, but should they?
No.
Yuck. Yikes, the Bills. Jerry Jones, of course, has a weekly radio show, and he had that yesterday. And, of course, what's the number one topic for Jerry Jones these days? The performance of number 4, his quarterback, of course. And here's Jerry Jones talking about his performance on Monday night.
But I can't say enough about how he just played football out there. As he certainly was able to get plays made that were critical on time. Bottom line is, I thought it was Dak's best game of the year.
Well, there you go. I mean, statistically, it was really good, right?
Yeah.
270-some-odd yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 running, 1 passing. Played under control, no turnovers, of course, and was willing to run the football. You know, this is what Micah doesn't like. Right? We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. The owner's got a radio show talking about Dak Prescott. And for an embattled quarterback who had a lot of pressure on him on Monday night, good for Dak. Dak played well. And I tried to make the point yesterday, we sometimes forget Dak Prescott is a really good quarterback. If he was the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, they would have a street named after him for the success he's had in the regular season. The problem with it, of course, is that if he doesn't play well next week, Jerry Jones on Tuesday morning is going to go on the radio saying, Dak's a problem.
Right.
Not sure we get, that kind of nonsense.
Yeah, the issue with Jerry Jones saying this, too, is like every time Dak has a game, he has to listen to it. Every time Dak doesn't play well, he has to listen to it. On air and off air, right? And so that's the problem with Jerry, man. Like, at some points, Jerry has to shut up, too. Like, Jerry has to get out the way. Never going to happen, but sometimes you're the reason why the Cowboys get dragged in the media.
Yeah, I will say this. I don't remember, and maybe our crack production staff can find it for us. I don't remember hearing from Jerry Jones after the loss against San Francisco. I don't remember playing. We may have. And maybe we just do talk so much about them, I forgot.
Something.
But I don't remember a reaction from the Jones family after the beatdown against San Francisco.
Positive.
That being said, you win, you're 4-2. Everybody's feeling groovy about themselves right now, except for Micah Parsons. And Dak Prescott played very well. So that's a little bit update for you on the Cowboys situation with Jerry Jones, which brings us to the Wednesday segment that Greg Jennings loves.
Oh, yeah.
Panic
Is it stable? We break it every week.
And Jacoby's got it. Jacoby, take it away.
All right. If you think the team's going to panic, you hit the button. It's very simple. Craig, we'll start with you. They're 4-2, but they almost lost to the New York Giants. Is it time to panic for Josh Allen and the Bills?
No, I'm sick of these questions asking about good teams with winning records, panicking. Give me a 2-4 team, and I'll abuse that button. No, and I'm tired of this nonsense about Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, and Stephon Diggs. Right? They're a really good football team. They're going to win a lot of games this year. They're going to go to the playoffs. Period. Stop. And then we can discuss how the season ends for them without a Super Bowl for the 90th consecutive year. But, we have to stop doing this on this show and other shows where we frankly treat fans of teams that do suck and
Are you concerned about
marginalize
the Chiefs'
them
offense?
by asking if we're panicked about Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and really good teams. So to move this segment along, my answer is no, I'm not panicked about the Buffalo Bills, and nobody in Orchard Park is either.
You did say the Eagles were panicking like 10 minutes ago. But let's just move on. We'll move on.
Fair point.
They had high expectations. They've only beaten the Vikings and the Raiders. They're 2-3. Is it time to panic for the Chargers, Willie?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm going to be honest, man. I love Justin Herbert, what he's been able to do thus far in the league, but the problem is they don't have a defense. The narrative with the Chargers hasn't changed, and it starts with Brandon Staley because he's supposed to be a defensive-minded coach. On top of that, we know the Chargers can score, but defensively they can't stop nobody. I mean, they got rid of J.C. Jackson. You talk about Bosa, has been a shell of himself. They just lost a safety. Khalil Mack has had somewhat of a resurgence, but he's not the old Khalil Mack like we used to see. So right now, if you're the Chargers, we know you can put up points, but you can't stop anybody. And the way they're trending, they won't make the playoffs this year.
Right.
Bottom line. And so if you're the Chargers and you're part of Bolt Nation, man, you should be panicking because right now, if I'm the head of that organization, I don't know if Brandon Staley is the future for the team anymore, and I'm looking elsewhere for a head coach because I'm tired of seeing what I'm seeing on television when it comes out of the Chargers.
I'll tell you this, though. It is Save Your Season Sunday. They play Kansas City, right?
It's over.
You beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who are ripe for the beating because they're not playing their best football
And
right
they're not
now.
beating the Chiefs.
And then you've got the Chicago Bears. The Chargers can go back-to-back and get themselves over 500 and get back in the wild card mix. I'm with you, though. That team, there's just something wrong about that franchise. Staley's going to be gone for sure because you have too much talent there to have 0 playoff wins, especially with a rock star quarterback. That being said, Week 7 coming up against Kansas City would be a huge turnaround for them.
Craig,
Yes.
earmuffs. This one's a tough sell. Okay. They're 3-2. However, they just lost a game. They definitely should have won in Cincinnati. Is it time to panic for the Seahawks?
Who?
I'm panicking.
Whoa!
Yeah, I'm panicking on the Seahawks because I don't know who they are. Yeah, when you look at this team, their wins are against the Giants, obviously the Carolina Panthers, and they beat the Lions after an exciting Week 1 win for the Lions in Kansas City, but that was in overtime. And so when I look at their schedule or who they got next, you got the Arizona Cardinals, who we all thought was just going to lay down. They're 1-5, but they compete. You got the Browns, who has the best defense in 20 years, and then the Ravens. Like, I don't like the teams that they're going up against because the teams that they're going up against, they eliminate what the Seattle Seahawks want to do best, and that's run the football.
Sure.
I look at it, and that schedule's they're going to beat the Cardinals. I don't worry about that. Not that they're going to blow them out, but I think they'll win the game. But if you look at that schedule one more time, there's only 3 games that you could say right now, all right, they'll win those 3 games, the 2 against the Cardinals and the 1 against the Tennessee Titans in Week 16. Other than that, you couldn't book right now a W in any of those games.
Correct.
Now, they're going to win some of them, but you can't right now say, all right, I can script right now for you how Seattle gets to 10. You can't do that right now.
No, and it would have been different had the LA Rams been what we all thought they were going to be, which was a pushover. They are not. And so when you look at their division, you thought it was going to be them and San Francisco, and it's them, San Francisco, and the Rams. So I don't see how this team squeaks it out.
Yeah, Geno has to play better. He played awful last week. So you're talking about only 5 touchdowns this season. He's better than that.
Right, and again, if Jerry Jones owned the Seattle Seahawks, imagine what that show would be like this week after they have 2 chances, about 8 plays inside the 10 to win a game against the Cincinnati Bengals. And instead of being 3-2, you're 4-1, and you're feeling really good about yourself. That was a lost opportunity.
Craig?
Yeah.
They're 3-3.
3-3.
They just lost.
Jets?
They just lost their starting quarterback for the season.
Should have been playing anyway.
Is it time to panic if you're the Indianapolis Colts?
Haven't I spoken to you guys about this? We don't talk Colts
Well,
on
they're
this show.
3-3.
We don't talk Colts.
They're 3-3. That's something.
They're 3-3.
The Jets are 3-3. It's all we talk about.
That's right.
It's all we talk about. They're the same exact record. That's all we do is talk about the Jets.
The Jets.
Who are you?
I'm going to walk you through it right now. The New York Jets have the 3 most watched TV events, not named the Super Bowl, in this country this year.
That's true.
They're America's team.
America's team,
Nobody
he said.
cares about the Colts. Panic, don't panic. Panic, don't panic. Panic, don't panic. The Colts season's over. They lost Anthony Richardson. Gardner Minshew's a nice backup, but he's not a real starting quarterback. And America doesn't give a rat's tail about the Indianapolis Colts.
So
Period. Stop.
They're 3-3. They
over.
lost their starting
It's
quarterback,
over.
so the season's over.
The season's over. Yeah, that's right.
The
That's
Jets are
right.
3-3.
Yeah.
Lost their starting quarterback, but they're America's team. And they're going to win the Super Bowl.
America's team, and they're winning.
Want to make sure we're on the same page here. We're on the same page.
By the way, we are on the same page. And while we're at it, by the way, since Panic Button, I know it's your segment and all, everyone goes, ooh, Jacoby has a segment. Oh, that's great. How about a team that does have a winning record, that is panicking? I'll say it right there. That's right. The Eagles are panicking. Julio Jones, get out of your mind. Julio
Julio Jones.
Julio Jones down by the schoolyard. What are we talking about right now? The Indianapolis Colts. I apologize, Colts fans. You deserve better.
You did not mean that. That was an empty apology.
Nobody cares.
We're not going to hear the term Colts again on this
Take the apology
show.
back.
Oh, let's do more Cowboys.
There we go. Who's America's team?
We got your headlines for you coming up. If you're just tuning in, Micah Parsons is very sensitive. We'll explain why after this.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Carton Show. We have early morning headlines, and thank God for Player Podcasts. They give us so much content. Here is Micah Parsons on the latest quote. I just don't condone the bashing of Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. Have the same energy for the Eagles. If y'all want to hate Cowboy Nation, just say y'all hate Cowboy Nation. Okay,
Yeah.
Craig, do we in the media treat the Cowboys fairly?
Yeah, and they get more attention than any other team to be even fairer when it comes to that. But here's the deal: I was trying to think during the last break. I had a Zen moment. I meditated. I can't remember another prominent Dallas Cowboy player attacking the fan base. Because that was not an attack on us in the media. If you see it again, he's attacking Cowboy Nation. Right? The Cowboy Nation should be more critical of the Eagles right now, or focus on the Eagles, who they don't play for 3 more weeks, right?
Are you talking about the media?
If you're going to hate Cowboy Nation, just say y'all hate Cowboy Nation.
Yeah, he's talking about us.
He's saying that we hate Cowboy Nation?
That's what he's saying, yes.
Oh, he's probably right about that.
Yeah, okay, there you go. There you go. Sorry about the confusion. Yeah, that's probably my fault.
I misinterpreted it, so that's on me. Here's the reality of the Dallas Cowboys, and it's by design. Now, to be fair, just to give you a little lesson in history, Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboy organization did not give themselves the name America's Team. John Facenda and NFL Films did that way back in the 1970s, and they adopted it, and they ran with it, as any one of our teams would have as well. So that's just a little context, this, right? But here's the deal. Duke basketball, back in the day, Notre Dame football.
Lakers.
Now it's Alabama football, the Lakers in the 80s, and now these guys,
Yankees.
the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Yankees in baseball. When you have unmitigated success for a long time, and you are the focus of bandwagon jumping fans who suddenly decide, oh, that's my favorite team, everybody else roots against you.
Yep.
Period, stop. That's all this is. It's not about we don't like Micah or respect his game. It's not about we're going out of our way to be overly critical about the Dallas Cowboys. It's that the Dallas Cowboys are one of the rare franchises where everybody cares about them and everybody's got an opinion on what they do, good and bad. And Mike is now just figuring that out in year 4? And that's what's happening.
Yeah, but if I'm Micah Parsons, own it, right? Like, if you feel like you're the most hated, wear it with pride. Because if people are, like Robert Salo said, if you ain't hating, you ain't popping, right? So if I'm Micah Parsons and you got, this podcast and this platform that you love talking to before and after games, and you say all these sound bites, to your point, Jacoby, that we feed off, own it. My thing is, don't complain about it now, because you weren't like you were just birthed into the Dallas Cowboys organization. You watch your quarterback get dragged, and he doesn't even complain about it. Right. You never hear Dak say anything about the media hating him.
To his credit.
If anything, before the Niners game, when that one reporter asked that one question, he goes, "Thank you for that."
Yeah, and let me take this one more step. I don't want to get too in the weeds on it from a media standpoint, boy. And I'm gonna put you guys on the spot, and I apologize. Tell me the best player on the Houston Texans that has a podcast. You can't. Mm-hmm. Tell me the best player on the Arizona Cardinals with a podcast. You can't. Now, tell me the starting offensive lineman on the Eagles who has the most popular podcast.
Jason Kelce.
Right. Correct. Because winning breeds popularity. Sure. Right? So if Micah Parsons doesn't want people talking about him or the team he plays on, it's very easy. Don't re-sign a contract and become a free agent and go play football for the Carolina Panthers. I promise you, nobody's going to care about what you do every Sunday afternoon. Seriously. And you can live your life in peace. But when you are the best player on a team like the Dallas Cowboys and you decide to go into the world of social media and endorsements and clothing deals and all the other stuff, you have to understand what comes with it.
Yep.
Social media breeds hatred and negativity because most other people are living miserable lives, and the only thing they can do is lash out on you. You either got to roll with it or ignore it and avoid it. But you can't do that if you play for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, and it's kind of like what you said earlier, Jacoby. Like, it's 90% love for the Dallas Cowboys. Because
this year.
Well, any year, to be honest, because they're undeserving, in my opinion, to be called America's team. They've never won enough to where we can say, oh, that is the team and the organization, the franchise that should hold this title. But for me, when you look at Micah Parsons, you are the guy.
Right.
Just be that guy. To your point.
He's also the loudest guy in the locker room.
To your point, like, you're the guy. Just play ball and keep doing what you're doing. We love it. You're going to be the standard. We're going to talk about you whether you're there, whether you're not. If it's a Dallas Cowboy and you have a star on your helmet, we're talking about it. That's just the reality.
But you also can't have it both ways, right? You know, if you want to put out videos of you boxing and you doing jiu-jitsu and you doing whatever it is you do in your spare time, then you're going to live that life. And oh, by the way, when you embarrass yourselves against the San Francisco 49ers in the game of the week, and that's the team that you couldn't get past the last 2 years in the playoffs, and all of America, well, not all of America because we watch Jet games, but a lot of America are watching you play that game, and you do exactly what every one of us that's critical of you expects you to do. You gotta suck it up sometimes.
Let me jump on that. I'm just gonna make it very simple. Like, we can overthink this. They lost 42-10 on national television, and Dak Prescott had 3 interceptions. Do you know what comes along with that? Cowboys or not Cowboys? Criticism.
Yeah.
It's just natural.
But Jacoby, to back you up, he didn't play well.
Right.
No.
Like, he got blocked by everybody, even the ref, even the people that like if you're supposed to be an all-world, like how we talk about Aaron Donald, you're supposed to be amongst those elite. You cannot have a game he had against San Francisco.
Right.
They blocked him with the fullback, the receiver, the tight end. They blocked him with everybody, even the guy selling hot dogs. So if I'm Micah Parsons, to your point, shut the podcast off.
That's it.
You only have 1 sack against the Chargers, by the way. Right? A charge off his line that's
Big
not
sack.
great.
Big
Late.
sack.
It was a big sack, but my point is you're supposed to be a 2 to 3 sack guy.
Yes.
You have not played well these last 2
And
weeks.
here's where this goes, because the next conversation that we're going to have is maybe his numbers were propped up going against bad teams.
Yeah, 3 against the Jets.
I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that. Let's look at pressures. Let's start looking at the tackles for loss. They're all starting to
Right.
And this is what happened last year towards the end of the season. But listening to Micah Parsons, it's always interesting because, again, when there's negative things to be said, everybody responds to it. Mm-hmm. Positive things, it's like nope. But after that loss against the 49ers, George Kittle pulls up his shirt and it says,
Loved it.
F Cowboys, whatever.
Right.
And Micah Parsons says, laugh now, cry later. Like, dude, it sounds like you're crying now. And you're possibly going to be crying later, no matter what happens, because the Cowboys just find a way to just squander what looks good during the regular season. Yeah. So it is what it is. Until you change that,
right?
If you change that, then
they can't change it in October and November.
You can't.
They got to change it in January, or you could go 14-3. They're not going to, and go into week 1 of the NFL playoffs and lose to whomever, and we're right back where we started from. Yep. So that's the way it is.
To what is quantitatively really America's team, the New York Jets. We have an update on the starting quarterback, who's no longer a starting quarterback. It's Aaron Rodgers talking about his rehab from Achilles surgery. Let's listen to Aaron.
Obviously, we're ahead of schedule. There's a lot of factors to that. There's the way I've attacked the rehab. There's obviously the surgery that Dr. Elitrosh did. There's the rehab that I've done. All those things together still doesn't get you back on the field. You have to hit a bunch of different things and be feeling a certain way. But that's the goal. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to put a timetable on it specifically. That makes absolutely no sense.
So, Craig, here's a serious question for you about the Jets.
Yeah.
Even if he's just leaving the door open a teeny tiny crack, is that negative for Zach Williams and Zach Wilson, in his outlook?
No. I think showing up at the game and being on the field throwing passes in front of the cameras is. Again, I've said I was at that game, and I can tell you that he wasn't talking to Zach at all on the sideline, at least that I saw. Not that I was staring at him, obviously, the whole game, but he was talking.
Just most of it, yeah.
Well, I mean, I stare at other things the whole game. Jared Goff's fiance. That's another story for another day. But he had the headset on. He's talking to Hackett. He was sitting on the bench a bunch. His presence is a good thing. I think, for Zach Wilson and for this offense. He brings so much credibility and experience. He can only help things in that regard. This is the only problem I had with it, and that is, this is for show.
This is look at me.
This is because he wants people talking about him possibly coming back and how good he looks, and there's no boot on, and he's walking without crutches, and all that stuff. But here's the reality. You know, you can't beat medicine, right? When you have an injury like his injury, yes, there are different timetables that some guys come back quicker than others, but no one doubles the recovery time because your body is what it is. So he wants to play football, and I respect that. You know, one of the things Robert Saleh said to us yesterday that resonated with me, and he's right about it, is that Aaron Rodgers could very easily just stay at home, collect this $36 million check this year, and show up again, you know, next summer for OTAs or mini camps or whatever it is, and try to be the Jet quarterback again. It does say a lot about him and where he is right now in his life that he wants to be here. My problem is that you want to help the Jets win football games by being a tutor to a young quarterback who's had his problems. You shouldn't be coming back here to have a look at me moment on the field at MetLife Stadium before the game, because we all reacted the same way. He looks great. He's throwing the ball. He's not wearing anything on the leg or the calf or the Achilles. Oh my God, maybe he comes back. None of that is beneficial to the New York Jets right now in the moment. And that's my problem with it.
My thing is, Elijah Vera Tucker, his starting right tackle, had the same injury. Elijah Vera Tucker's in a boot, right? And I was in a boot when I tore my Achilles. If Aaron Rodgers, God forbid, slips going into the stadium or does anything on that sideline to hinder him from being back next year, that's shame on him, right? Because I think there's this, and even with Aaron, Robert Saleh said it on air yesterday, he goes, when it comes to Aaron, Aaron does what Aaron does.
He does.
We don't interfere. And I'm like, and this is what I'm like, you may have to, because the whole future of the New York Jets is based on that man's shoulders. Why can't you tell Aaron Rodgers to wear a boot? Why can't you tell him?
Well,
like,
that's
hey.
the doctor's job, right? So I mean,
But I'm getting the impression that the doctors can't even tell Aaron Rodgers what to do.
well, look, no doctor can make you do it, right? When you rehab, there's, I'm sure, days in your rehab where you
I wasn't allowed out the building without my boot.
Right, but I'm sure there were days you're like, let me just try this or try that. You know, that's just, you know, trying to come back from injury. And to be fair, while you did suffer the same injury, and Elijah Vera Tucker did as well, to be fair to Aaron Rodgers, combined, that's an extra 800 pounds on an Achilles that he just...
Unnecessary roughness.
I didn't throw that off the back.
I'm just saying, it might be different carrying certain amounts of weight.
Yeah, but he's also not like he's not like 105 pounds.
No, he's not. Yeah. He's not.
I've said this time and time again, and I'll continue to say it. Like, you can be ahead of schedule, you can be all the things, but until you put those shoulder pads on, that helmet on, and you're on the field, and we're actually seeing you perform football, like, positional things, I don't care.
Yep.
And that's the reality.
And by the way, him wanting to come back is normal, the competitive nature of being a pro athlete and all that. But it's a lot different standing still, throwing a ball, and having a dude running a 4-4 at you who wants to hurt you.
Everyone looks good. Like, we all do things not necessarily for all the attention, but we do it for some type of attention.
That's all for attention.
That's ego. Right?
That's all ego.
That was, let me show you guys that I'm ahead of schedule, but there was no running. We're not going to see that.
Right.
Why?
But
Because
also,
it can't happen.
nobody's doubting his work ethic.
No.
Right? This isn't a guy who has a weight problem or has anything. Like, we know Aaron Rodgers works out and does what he needs to do to be ready for the football field. So what are you showing us?
Yeah, he's not coming back this regular season. And if you go back and watch the interview we all did yesterday with Robert Saleh, when we asked him the question, his first answer was no. And then he said, but, you know, we're going to leave a spot open for him. But look, you don't come back from that injury. Not that... Look, I guarantee you around Thanksgiving, we're going to see video of him jogging, of him maybe even running.
Right.
But the reality is, jogging in a straight line on a field in Santa Monica or even at MetLife Stadium before the game, or even doing, what are those things called, karaoke's, right?
Yeah.
Right, that whole thing, right? Is a lot different than, all right, now I'm in a game, and now I've got a guy Willie size who can run faster than me, who wants to hurt me. And all of a sudden, I've now got to plant that foot and escape that guy. That's a lot different than running a straight line or standing still, Jacoby, don't drop it, and throwing passes, right? That's the difference. And that shows you, even at 40 years old, that guy wants all the attention that we're going to give him, and how good he looks, and another crisp pass, and look, he's transferring weight on the throw. No. It was for show. It was for ego. And I don't like it.
Next headline has some significant injury updates, and that is for the 49ers. Remember, they had 3 players that went down last game, McCaffrey, Debo, and Trent Williams. There's some good news. While they haven't said that those players will play Monday against the Vikings, it is possible that all 3 of them or one of them will be available this Monday against the Vikings. Are you confident with his weapons back that your guy Brock Purdy will bounce back after a very mediocre performance?
Yeah, I'm very confident. I find it funny. There's so many people that are obviously rooting against Brock Purdy. It's comical to me. Like, people just want to be right, that he's not the great quarterback or the answer. They want Trey Lance back in the mix, whatever it might be. He had a bad game against the best defense in all of football without his starting left tackle and 2 of his best position players, right? So what do you expect to happen? Right? He had a bad game, and I will still remind everybody that even having a bad game and throwing his first interception of the year, he led the team into field goal range to win the game.
Yep.
And the field goal kicker, Moody, misses a 41-yard kick. Every quarterback, Tom Brady, Roger Staubach, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Troy Aikman, Bobby Hebert. Every single one. Bobby Hebert. No, he walks on water in New Orleans.
Why do we call him Justin Herbert? We call him Justin Hebert.
In any event, every quarterback that's ever played the sport has had a bad game against a great defense. But for some reason, there's a faction of Americans who want to use that game against the Browns as proof that Brock Purdy is a system quarterback and can't lead the Niners to a Super Bowl. It's crazy talk. And I want to give you an example.
Oh, please do.
Here's the example. Let's pretend for a minute that the Niner-Browns game on Sunday was the Super Bowl, and it ended on the Moody 41-yard miss. 20 years from now, when we talk about Super Bowl 50, whatever it would be, what do we talk about?
Wide right.
Wide right. Oh, can you believe Moody? Can you believe Moody?
Wide right.
Right? So, that's the guy to blame for losing the game, not Brock Purdy. Nobody talks about how Jim Kelly had a bad Super Bowl against the Giants. What are we talking about?
PJ Washington Super Bowl, though. You'd have to say that. It will go down as the PJ Washington Super Bowl, then we'll say wide right.
Scott Norwood's a legend, right? Missed a 46-yard field goal. No one talks about Jim Kelly having a bad game. So that's my point. That for some reason, people hate on Brock Purdy, and I'm here to defend him. He is still an MVP candidate, and he got them in the spot to win the game.
Oh, Greg.
I'm here to defend everybody that you're saying is.
Yeah, you're a hater.
No, you're a hater. I like Brock Purdy. I think, but the question still kind of looms out there. Can he be the reason why they win without these pieces? And I think this is an opportunity. So even if those guys can play Monday night, you get an extra day of recovery and to prepare. But this is an opportunity for a franchise who are seemingly deciding this is our future. This guy understands that Brock Purdy is our future. Rightfully so, right? He's earned that.
Yeah.
You're not going to always have these type of pieces of personnel around him. We've seen it with Kansas City. I saw it in Green Bay. Like, at some point, you're going to have to identify, can my quarterback, in the words of Coach Eric Mangini, be a force multiplier? Can he make everybody around us better? And we don't know that. And this is an opportunity for us to identify, can he do that? I'm not saying that he's a system guy, because we all do better when there's better personnel around us. Duh. But what can't happen is when that personnel is removed, your level of play can't just
but to be fair, Greg, that's an unfair thing to say, in my opinion, because there's only a handful of guys in the history of the game. Mahomes is one, Brady for sure, and it'd be a long wait to find the other guy right now that doesn't come to the top of mind, where if you take away their weapons, they're good enough to raise everyone else's game. Mahomes does it. He's the best. We all acknowledge that. Brady, of course, is the GOAT. So, why don't we have that same conversation? If I took Waddle and Hill off the Dolphins, is Tua a good quarterback?
Craig, I hate agreeing with you, Craig, but I have to here because a couple things I just want to say out loud. Number one, they lost these players in the middle of the game. So they game planned for having them, and they had to adjust in the middle of the game. And, yeah, he had a bad game. But he also did bring them in a position to win the game. And this is the part that no one said it yet. That was his first loss
Right.
in the NFL.
And he puts
in a
them in
game
position
he started
to
his
win.
business. It's the first time
But
he
it's
lost.
like, and Greg, I appreciate what you're saying. A lot of people have been saying that. Let's see what he does without this guy, without that guy. Again, I'll give you Peyton Manning. Maybe is the third guy who did it without having the greatest talent around him, possibly. But if I take Smith and Brown off the Eagles, is Jalen Hurts a good quarterback?
No.
And I give you every team. I'm not going to do that. For some reason, with Brock Purdy, and it does go back to where he was drafted, I assume, nobody wants to believe that he's part of the reason that they're winning all these games.
He is.
Well, he's got McCaffrey. Well, he's got Debo. Well, he's got Ayuk, et cetera, et cetera. And he uses them well, right? So I don't get that as a knock on the kid when he played the best defense in football, was missing all three of those guys. As Jacoby said, during the game, those guys got hurt. And again, got them in a position despite playing a bad football game. And you are right. He had his worst game as a pro. He missed open guys. He overthrew guys. He was embattled. He was under pressure. He did not play well. And yet, he got them in a spot to win the game on a makeable kick from 41 yards. And if Moody makes it, I tell you this conversation is a lot different. We're talking about the grit of Brock Purdy overcoming his own bad play, 3 major injuries, and still leading them down for a last-second win.
But I don't think nobody's going to be shocked that they're going to beat the 2-4 Vikings. I don't think that's a test for me, even if he plays well or he doesn't. He's still a quarterback who's done thus far earned and garnered America's respect, my respect as a quarterback. So if he beats the BS Vikings, I'm like, okay. That's
and by the way, I wouldn't be shocked if that's a closer game. Wouldn't surprise me. The Vikings play with some pride. I wouldn't be surprised. What's wrong, Greg? What's going on?
I feel like you guys are misunderstanding.
Then say it louder.
Oh, well, no, I don't have to say it louder because that's not my personality. What I'm saying is, do you all not agree that if Brock Purdy plays without Debo Samuel and without a Christian McCaffrey, and let's just say even without Trent Williams, and he performs well, would that not open our eyes to man, this guy is really legit?
Great question.
Like we all know. I'm not saying that he's not.
I've got the answer for you. For those who are still living in the darkness, they will see the light. For those of us who've already seen the light, we know what the kid is.
Yeah, I'm on that side.
I'll leave you with that.
Yeah.
Deep thought.
It wasn't deep.
Deep thoughts. It's Deep Thought Wednesday, which gives us a great opportunity to go to everyone's favorite Wednesday segment, which is called
What the Wednesday.
Plus, the brother of the Jets owner has spoken.
Oh! Everybody talk when you win, baby. Everybody gets a bite. You got to pop that too.
This is very exciting because tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, we'll be joined live in studio with the commissioner of the National Basketball Association, my buddy, Mr. Adam Silver. So set your clocks for that. A one-on-one interview, or I guess a 4-on-1, or that sounds exciting, interview with Adam Silver.
You almost got there.
Anyhow,
I go first.
Tell you that. I get to film it. Okay. Anyway, that's tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, Adam Silver. Why are we showing you random Jet highlights? Well, because the vice chairman of the Jets and the brother of Woody Johnson is a guy named Christopher Johnson. He owned the team, of course, when Woody Johnson was the envoy to England for this country. We've all seen Jets teams pack it in the past, mailed in, whatever. These guys haven't done that. They are seemingly rising, and you love to see it. All right, so how do I react to that? Well, I kind of like both sides of a coin. On one side, I remember as a diehard Jet fan that Christopher Johnson is the guy that brought Adam Gase into my life. And I'm still ruining the day that Adam Gase became the head coach of the New York Jets. But the flip side is that he's right.
Yeah.
And Willie and I were talking about it offline yesterday, and that is the 3 games the Jets have won this year. The opening game against the Bills when Zach comes in for the injury on Rodgers, the win, of course, against the Eagles, and the win against the Denver Broncos. There was a moment in all 3 of those games that virtually every Jet team of the last decade would have found a way to lose. Whether a deep pass that burns our safety, a bad penalty, a drop ball, a fumble, an interception. And yet all 3 of those games, we found the way to win and avoided what was usually for us, here we come again.
Yeah.
A terrible loss at the end.
And unfortunately, I was a part of some of those teams, right? And I think the large part of that because of the culture, which we had at the time. Like, listen, when you belong to a culture like I belong to the New York Jets, we had a lot of guys with resumes, right? And with those resumes, a lot of them you weren't allowed to talk and touch to. They weren't held to accountability, right? And so I sit back and I look at this Jets team, and thank you, Robert Saleh, for bringing the level of young youth, accountability, and changing the culture, because the old Jets teams validate we had players and validate we had studs. A lot of those guys wasn't held accountable. They didn't show up for work on time. You got guys that had got paid, that cashed it in. So it was a toxic culture. And so now you don't have that. So when you see Robert Saleh smile after a win against the Eagles, he's not just smiling because now he feels like his team has finally arrived.
Yep.
They figured out to win games that normally other Jets fans in the world say, oh, they're going to lose this one, and they come out on top.
And it's a big step. Like, we talk a lot, you guys talk a lot about there are times when you have to learn how to win. And that is like in the big moment, nobody makes the mistake. Everyone's accountable for their own actions, whether it's an offensive lineman not jumping off sides or a wide receiver, knowing what the route is, whatever it might be. So what Christopher Johnson's saying, and I don't want to overstate it, they're a 500 football team, and we're still not quite sure, on any given Sunday what our quarterback's going to do for us or against us. The reality is that Robert Saleh, and I got to give Joe Douglas credit for this as well, they have changed, and I hate the word, the culture of the Jets in that
100%.
Those 3 games were all losable games. And yet this version of the New York Jets found ways to win.
Yeah, and I go back to last season when they only needed to win 1 or 2 of those games that they lost, and I think it was the 6-game losing streak.
Well, they were 7-4 and then lost out.
That's right. Like, it was even different then for me because you got to your point, you bring in these young guys, a Sauce Gardner who hadn't experienced a lot of losing, Garrett Wilson hadn't experienced a lot of losing. And their mentality is not to take on what was, it's to bring in what they feel like can be.
Sure.
And that was Robert Saleh's plan, like to bring in this group of guys, this wave of guys, and then you bring in Aaron Rodgers this year. You now build up the psyche of the guys on the other side of the ball because it's like, oh, we got a guy under center that can lead us. And so his presence, all these things matter. And I don't know which one of you just said it, but you have to learn how to win.
Yep.
In this league, you have to go through moments like they did last year where we think we're there, but you're really not. And now this year, it afforded them those wins that they possibly should have lost.
And that's got nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers.
No.
Like, if you want to see if Aaron was playing and you're winning close games, he's not here. Right? Aaron Rodgers is not a part of this. And that's really what we talked about yesterday. That's a coach who knows how to communicate to grown men. And again, we take that for granted, but you guys, I'm sure, have been in locker rooms where you have a coach that doesn't do that well and loses a locker room very quickly. So this is a new Jet kind of culture and a new Jet team where we're able to win close games that every other year we would have lost. Example, Jalen Hurts on the last play of the game. Last year, that pass is completed or it's pass interference, and they go out and they score and they beat us, and it's another heart-wrenching loss for the New York Jets, which is why the 3 most watched not just football games, people. Not just football games. You're talking about, shockingly, it even beats Master Chef, all right, and The Masked Singer.
Housewives.
2 of the greatest shows on TV.
All that.
I watch them all the time because I'm a big Gordon Ramsay guy. The New York Jets, other than the Super Bowl, have the 3 most viewed television events of the year. 1, 2, and 3, and their winning against the Eagles is the most watched TV event this year outside of the Super Bowl. The New York Jets resonate with America, Greg.
They do. I mean, I gotta be honest. Like, they resonate even with myself. Yeah. Somebody who
said there'd be 1 and 5 after 6. That's right.
They resonate.
Time now for the Wednesday segment everybody loves outside of the Fox censors. It's called
What the Wednesday.
All right, let me go back to the Dallas Cowboys. One play that they tried against the Chargers that didn't work all that well was this one right here. I'll be honest, I could have sworn that Dak Prescott got the first down there, but here's Dak talking about his inability to get the 1 yard they needed. Go ahead.
They didn't push my tush enough.
Have you ever said that?
There was okay.
I'm just going to get
I'm the wrong person to ask that, because I got a story for that. But go ahead.
Story for that. All right, let me just get out of this one. Hey, Dak. What?
Thank you, Craig. Real growth from you, Craig.
Right, that is growth.
Yeah, you
That one's cost me 19.
I was about to
Still talking about that one.
Right in that one.
The old Craig.
That's why motels are paid by the hour. Okay. I'm sorry.
You too, man.
I was young. I needed the money.
Next one.
Go to the next one.
All right. Josh Allen, who, of course, is a tough guy, and they're trying to kind of reel him back sometimes from bad decisions that put him in harm's way. Oh. Well, the Giants and the Bills got into a little tussle. And watch Josh Allen.
Oh,
I love it.
Yeah. I love it. I would have slammed Josh Allen on his neck.
So, Josh Allen right there, while his player gets knocked down his rear end, Josh comes in kind of blindside and tries to knock a linebacker down.
My quarterback.
And the dude barely even
I would have folded him like lawn chair.
Yeah.
Look at him.
So, on behalf of all Buffalo Bills fans, Josh Allen.
What the?
Yeah, let's stay in New York with Brian Daboll and the New York Giants, 14-9, tough loss to the Giants against the Bills. Of course, Brian and Sean McDermott allegedly had this great relationship. They're on the same coaching staff, of course. But after the game, it didn't look like they're friends. Watch this.
Beat it.
Yeah, peace out.
Okay.
And then he goes and hugs the quarterback.
Yeah.
So, one more time, Brian Daboll, Sean McDermott, get out of
Beat
here.
it.
Yeah.
Where's the quarterback at?
Where's my guy? I love you. Come back. I love you so much.
Yeah, can you please come play
Can
for the
you please
Giants?
come back?
So I'm not sure if I say this to Daboll or McDermott, but I'll use Brian Daboll. Hey, Brian Daboll.
What the?
All right, let's go to the fans on the sidelines of an NFL game. This went crazy yesterday, totally viral. We showed it to you. The young woman who is allegedly a charge.
Oh, man.
Now, there are a lot of people that think she was an NFL plant and was not even at the game nor a fan. She has now come out and had to acknowledge that there are photos of her wearing Minnesota gear.
Oh!
Apparently, she's born and raised in Minnesota, and her son plays for the Vikings in his Pop Warner League, and she is a season ticket holder of the
a
LA
fraud?
Chargers. And someone goes home to that tonight and goes, I love you, baby.
Oh, yeah. She's great. Like, that's exactly how I look when the pre-workout hits. Like, that's just exactly how
That's what, I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
What?
No.
Is that how you reacted when the tush? No.
No.
Anyway, can you show her one more time? Like, if she's real and she does care about the Chargers, that's everything fandom is about. Big moment, yeah!
Screaming.
Yeah!
But look at the lady next to her, like, wow. She's
Yeah! Her elbows she also has double jointed elbows, which is weird. But in any event, hey, lady with the Charger jersey on.
What the?
All right, a little NBA for you. We have the commissioner coming in here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to chat with us. LeBron James violated every rule the NBA has, including rules amongst teammates. Played in a preseason game, got dressed, sat on the edge of the bench, and then did this despicable act. Look at him right there, eating dinner.
What do you think? Chicken tenders?
Eating dinner.
So what are we criticizing here?
Yeah. By the way, for all the videos we show that we don't circle the guy, I'm pretty sure America knows
what LeBron James looks like. Yeah.
Like
the giant, most recognizable athlete in the world.
Like
Let's circle him.
When it's a random left tackle for the Giants,
No
we don't
circle.
circle it. In any event, he's got Tupperware and he's eating dinner on the bench.
But this is what he does.
There you go. That's what he does.
But he's brought wine to the
usually
bench.
has wine.
He's had wine.
And by the way, he played in that game.
He did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Played the first half.
He played in that game.
So why is he not in their Lakers gear?
Because he didn't play the second half.
Changed at halftime.
Anyhow,
Who changes at halftime?
LeBron James.
LeBron James does.
LeBron James.
What the?
I hate it.
Let me give you a little taste of what we're going to see this year in the NBA as Houston Rocket rookie Cam Whitmore posterizes Doug McDermott. He gets called for a charge here. But in reality, when you see it in slow motion, he doesn't touch him.
Yeah.
That is a clean dunk from about 8 feet out. McDermott goes down, but that is a legitimate in-your-face dunk.
Almost a
so
teabag.
I'm just going to say it on behalf of all guys that have ever been posterized, hey guys,
What the?
Oh, man.
And I'll end it with one note. It seems like we went NBA heavy here. That's probably going to cost us. But
2 stories for 30 seconds. Not even going to cost us.
The most embattled and hated player in the NBA is actually Ben Simmons. But there's one fan who has nothing but love for the Nets forward.
Why?
Ben Simmons,
Look at
a
this.
full-on face tattoo,
A tattoo
of
his
Ben
face.
Simmons on that dude's chest. And even Ben is like,
Yeah,
there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
There's something very, very wrong with you.
You sure you got my face? Like, what are you doing?
We should introduce that guy to the Chargers fan. In any event, hey, guy with the Ben Simmons tattoo.
What the?
Yes, there you go. I did save you from all the stories about how great Ben has looked in the preseason.
He has looked good.
Has
he looked good? He has
Only
looked
because
good.
I know much better. We get back to NFL football and Jamar Chase. Do the Bengals rely too much on their star wide receiver and their other receivers getting upset about it? We'll get into that right after this. All right, listen, welcome back. That, of course, is David Jacoby. My man right there is Green Bay Packer, a Hall of Famer, Craig Jennings, and this guy right here, Super Bowl champion. Craig won one as well.
Yeah.
Mr. Willie Big Guy Cologne. That brings us to football. They played football, and Jacoby's got first down football.
First in football, we start with the Cincinnati Bengals. Offensive coordinator Brian Callahan said the following about their offense, quote, there needs to be more production on offense in general for guys not named Jamar Chase. At the end of the day, we're not scoring enough. We're not producing enough. Craig, is the Bengals offense to Jamar Chase focused?
Well, I would say this to the offensive coordinator in Cincinnati. If you throw the ball to other guys will be more productive. But 2 weeks ago, for example, in their big win against the Arizona Cardinals, they threw the ball to Jamar Chase 19 times. Don't tell me that Higgins forgot. I don't know if he played in that game.
No.
But don't tell me if the other receivers on the Cincinnati Bengals forgot how to run routes or get open. Jamar Chase complained about not getting the ball. He is their best wide receiver. So Joe Burrow, who's still not 100%, said, here's what I'm going to do. Even if we lose, I'm going to make sure that guy after the game is happy, and they didn't lose, they won the game. So it's funny to me when offensive coordinators talk about the things they don't do well when he's the guy in total control of what they do. Just tell Joe Burrow to look somewhere else to throw the ball, and someone else will get the ball.
Yeah, bottom line, on top of that, you say it all the time. Like, don't cry over champagne problems. Like, you're 3-3. Your season could have been over. Your defense is starting to arise. What you need to be worried about is what happened to Joe Mixon in this offense. Where's Tyler Boyd? And this offensive line has doing a fair enough job. So there's enough things to be happy about. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, they'll figure it out. But they didn't score in the second half of that game. That's the only cause for concern. Other than that, you're in a good place. Be happy that you're there.
Is Jamar Chase not their best offensive option?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so what's the problem?
Right.
I mean, get the man the ball. Like, you've had success when you started getting him the ball. I don't see the problem. Everything else, just like you said, needs to be added to that. The running game, Joe Mixon getting more involved. Obviously, you hope to get T. Higgins back, and he can get back to what he was the last few years. So I don't have a problem with getting your best player the ball. That's technically what you're supposed to do in this game. If you have a guy like Jamar Chase, get him the ball, good things happen. That's what you're seeing with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Look, you're right. So there's two parts to it. One, if you want other guys involved, call plays for other guys.
Yeah.
And number two, what's wrong with giving Jamar Chase the ball a lot? He's your best player. Yeah. So there's two sides of it, and neither one of those sides support what the offensive coordinator came out and said. And one other little note. If Cincinnati thinks they're going to be good enough, and maybe they are, to make this run against San Francisco and Buffalo to start off their post-bye schedule, they need to figure out why Joe Mixon's not, running the ball well. He's under 4 yards a carry. He only has one touchdown. He's averaging 60 yards a game on the ground. And if you want to help out a quarterback that is hurt, and you want to help out an offense that is relying on one guy, get your running game going.
Yeah.
And they've not done that yet. He's under 4 yards a carry. And like I said, only one touchdown so far out of Joe Mixon. And he's good enough to carry the load if you need him to.
Moving on to second down, let's turn our attention to New Orleans Saints.
Yes.
Running back Alvin Kamara, after their loss to the Texans, had some pretty critical things to say about his teammates' preparation.
I don't know what everybody else is doing to prepare, but there's a certain type of sacrifice that you have to make to be able to come out here and play at a certain level, at an elite level. So I just hope everybody's doing that. We just need to find a way to win.
So, Craig, after a loss, team leader in the locker room saying everybody else needs to try better. That could be a positive thing. Or, hey, you missed the first 4 games because you were suspended. We're losing. How about you be better too? Which way do you see it?
Yeah, I have a problem with it on multiple levels. Number one, I think other guys in the locker room are going to be pissed off about it, or ticked off, I apologize, because you're calling me out. Like, even though you didn't say my name, you're now accusing me blindly of not preparing, not having the work ethic to win. So I'm going to question your work ethic. What are you doing to make us a better football team? And I know who you are. I know what your resume is. But are you doing everything you can do to help us win? Because last time I checked, you're averaging less than 70 yards a game. Last time I checked, you're not the reason we're winning football games. You have 1 touchdown since you came back to us after the suspension. And to me, this is a locker room problem. I remember a couple weeks ago, Alvin Kamara, I think it was the week before he came back after the suspension, and talked about how amazing this team was and how they had all this talent and skilled position stars. And with Derek Carr helming the boat, they were going to be fantastic. And now a little adversity, a couple of bad games, a loss against a team nobody thought you were going to lose to, and all of a sudden, who's the first guy to chirp? The guy that missed the first month of the season because he was a knucklehead in Vegas, right? So to me, I understand what Alvin Kamara brings and the dimension he brings to the Saints offense. I guarantee you they've expected more out of him. He's under 4 yards a carry as well. And as soon as I hear a guy come out and question the work ethic of everybody else in the locker room, you have a team that is dysfunctional and is not going to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I disagree. I think he's a man because of his resume, like you just stated. But he's a made man, right? We talk about what he means for this organization. And the reason for his lack of production, because they're shattered with injuries across the board of the offensive line. That's where his lack of production. Overall, man, if you're a guy who has done what he's done for that organization and produced in which he's produced, you're allowed to say, hey, man, I've been here long enough to know what the standard is. We're not performing. And usually when you have injuries, like they're dealing with injuries on the offensive line, he's asking for other guys behind those guys. We talk about depth all the time in the backup. Your backups have to be just as important as your starters. They aren't performing to a high level. So there may be for him like, hey, man, I need you backups of guys who can fill in to step up, right? Because when you're on part of good teams, your backups are the ones that carry the team, especially this part of the season. So I'm okay with a made man, a guy who means something to the franchise, stepping up and saying, hey, we have to be better and we have to prepare better. And I don't think we're doing that right now.
I also want to hear from Derek Carr now, because Derek Carr came back after hurting his shoulder in a game and didn't miss the next game and fought through it and played his ass off and tried to, right? So Derek Carr is supposed to be the leader of the New Orleans Saints. How do you think he reacts to this?
I just want to clarify one thing, because I listened to the whole bite. We can't play it all. He did go on to say, oh, well, I know that me and Mike and Cam and Derek put in, but everybody else. So he did mention the stars,
all right,
but not everybody else.
Still not good.
Yeah, so it's just not a good look. And so for me, leadership is not just what you do on the field, it's how you conduct yourself and what you do off the field. And I'm not saying you have to be a saint. I'm not saying you have to be perfect. But when you have made errors or mistakes, you should lean towards being quiet and letting your actions do the talking. And for me, his actions this season, regardless of what he doesn't have in front of him offensive line-wise, because there are a lot of teams that can say that, a lot of running backs that can say that. Yes. We can all make excuses and reasons why the lack of production is present, but until that is not the case, just understand I have to clean my own house. I have to look in the mirror and talk about who and what I need to be in order for us to be a better outfit. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear pointing the finger. I've never been that guy. It's not a good look. I don't care what you've done in the past. If you're not doing it right now, talk to that.
Yeah, but I disagree from this standpoint, because I think silence equals complacency, right? And if you're complacent with where they're playing and you say nothing, then you're the problem. He's expected to be a leader. He's expected to be somebody to help this offense be better and do better. So for him, a guy who's been is a vested vet, who's been a part of the success for the New Orleans Saints for a long time, I need for him to say something, because to your point, Derek Carr hasn't said anything.
Right.
Cam Jordan hasn't said anything. Some of the guys who are paid to be not only physical leaders but vocal leaders not say anything, and he's the one guy guy that's saying, hey, I've been out, but I care. And I don't want to see this organization and this team just swarming to the wayside. They shouldn't have lost to the Texans. They were horrible in the red zone. And if a guy who's held to a standard, has yet to perform to a standard, and looks around, hey, it's not just me, it's all of us, I'm okay with him opening the
Just real quick, they have as many wins as Atlanta does and Tampa, so their season's right in front of them.
Yeah.
They haven't lost any ground to anybody, and while it was a bad loss and they didn't play well, if they do their job, they're fine. Like you see the standings right there. They're 3-3. Obviously, the Tampa had a bye. They haven't had their bye yet. But they're fine if they get their act together and that offense starts clicking. You shouldn't worry about the Saints. So that's that.
Keep in mind, they also do have one of the easiest schedules in the league. Moving on to third down, let's pay our attention to the Philadelphia Eagles, who lost to the Jets on Sunday. And the news is that they've signed that man, Julio Jones. Uh-oh, Craig.
Yeah.
The signing of Julio Jones to the Eagles, what does that tell you about where they are right now as a franchise?
I'm going to tell you what it tells me. I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you right here.
Greg's going to get it
live TV. This is what it tells you, that clown team right now is panicking. That's what it tells you right now. Thank you. Panic button's mine now, Jacoby. I take ownership of it.
Keep it.
Because you're the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, no, you lost one game. You still have the best record in the NFL. But, oh, no, the New York Jets beat you in front of 27 million people. So what do? You panic. And that's what they did. You bring in an old wide receiver who hasn't been healthy in a decade, whose best days are way behind him, who's not going to give you any appreciable help on offense because, oh, no, we lost to the New York Jets. It's pathetic. This is an offense that has not played up to their standards or how they played last year. But rather than look in the mirror and understand why that is, their offensive line hasn't dominated the way they did last year. And their quarterback has not played as well as he played last year. Let's fix it by doing what? Go out and getting a 90-year-old wide receiver who can no longer play NFL football. This is a joke. And if I was an Eagle fan, I'd rather my team say, you know what? No one's going 17-0. We're embarrassed by our loss to the New York Jets, but we're going to be just fine, and we're going to rebound and get back to playing Eagle football, meaning DeAndre Swift's going to run the ball more, and we're going to complement that with throwing the ball down the field, and we're going to be just fine. But after your first loss of the season, to panic in this manner and bring in A.J. Brown's best friend is a joke. It's pathetic, and it's beneath the fine people of Philadelphia.
Oh, they're fine people. They're not panicking. You can't name another.
Bring in a 90-year-old wide receiver.
All 32 teams make moves every single week.
Nobody brought in Julio Jones.
And so they did.
Yeah.
Because they decided, instead of getting a guy that is unproven, let's get a guy that we understand that has had success in this league, that can, if we need him to be a guy, he can be inserted right away. That's just how it is for some teams. They want to go to the veteran guy.
But how we use the old adage, just KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Run the damn ball, right? Like we talk about the Eagles going into this game. When you have the offensive line, which they have, Lane Johnson is down right now, they run the ball really well. When you go away from that and you lose your identity for the most part of that game against the Jets solely because Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed was out and you lose that game, that's a me problem. That's not the Jets problem, right? If they would have pretty much put the Jets in the phone booth, ran the ball, they would have had a lot better outcome.
So I got breaking news here. The Philadelphia Eagles are working out Lynn Swann later today.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Breaking.
Mike Quick is coming back for a workout as well.
Irvin Fryer.
Oh, look at this. And they're on the phone now with Fox executives, hoping that Michael Irvin can come out of retirement and play for them as well. Embarrassing. Julio Jones. Yuck. 24 catches last year. Just own the fact that you got B-slapped by the New York Jets defense. Not every defense in football is as good as the New York Jets. And the fact that you react to that beatdown by the New York Jets defense by getting a 90-year-old wide receiver tells me all I need to know.
It would have been different.
Well, the Niners didn't go out and get anybody else. They took that L like a man and went home.
We got to take a break. It's very important that we take a break because I have a smoothie waiting for me. It's melting right now. Coming up, we go back up the mountain. Who are the top 4 teams in the NFC? Who are the top 4 teams in the AFC? And does Willie have anything to say about it? Next on FS1. It is time now for King of the Mountain. This is our little ranking system. AFC, NFC. Let's start off with the AFC. Your fourth place team. I only ranked the top four, Greg, because no other team matters to me, all right?
Okay.
I'm going in the AFC East. The fourth best team right now in the AFC. I don't buy into the notion that they got problems on the sidelines or the quarterback and the wide receiver don't get along. The Buffalo Bills right now. Top four. They weren't even on the mountain last week.
They weren't.
And I know they had a tough game against the New York Giants, and people are now wondering who are the real Bills, the 35-point Bills, the 48-point Bills against the Dolphins, or the team that barely beat the lowly New York Giants. They're fine. They've got a great offense, a great quarterback. They're making the playoffs, and they're on the mountain, the Buffalo Bills. Who is in third, though? A lot of options for third place in the AFC. I got to go with a team that America has fallen in love with. 3-3.
Are you really going to do this?
2 consecutive wins and a quarterback who's growing more confident by every Sunday he gets to play. Bye week. After the bye week, they get the Giants, the Chargers, and the Raiders. They will be 6-3. Woo. There's only one quarterback left on their schedule that's going to give them a problem, and that's Tua. The New York Jets have climbed up the mountain to get to number 3. Look at Handsome Pants right there. Zach Wilson. All right, 2 teams left. This is a tough deal for me. And I give the Kansas City Chiefs as the number 2 team in the AFC, and here's why. I'm very concerned about their offense without having legitimate weapons outside of Travis Kelce. And as great as Patty Mahomes is, and he is the best player for my money in the entire NFL, you have seen this team week after week struggle to score in the manner they scored in the past. Their defense is good, but not great. And they could have lost, except for the Chicago game, virtually every game they played this year. They didn't because they have Patrick Mahomes, but they are not a dominant team just yet. They're good. They might be great, but they're not dominant, and I can't make them the king of the mountain.
Fair.
This pains me, Willie Colon.
Does it?
This pains me.
Why?
The best team in the AFC happens to be the Miami Dolphins.
Fins up!
All right? And I hate the Miami Dolphins because I'm a Jet fan. And all our fan bases have a lot more in common than we don't because neither one of us have had playoff success for the last quarter century. Their offense is record-breaking. Their defense concerns me, especially their run defense and their secondary with deep balls. But if you can score 40 points a game, you can overcome an average defense. And until a couple of teams set Miami backwards, like the Bills did a couple weeks ago, they are the top of the mountain, and they are the kings of the AFC.
Yeah, you're homer. This is all
how's that?
AFC.
How am I a homer?
This is all AFC East. You only looked at the Chiefs.
You want to put the Patriots at the bottom of the mountain just to solidify?
I don't even have a Patriot magnet. That's how bad the Patriots are. Which now brings me to the NFC.
I'm interested.
All right,
in this one.
NFC. I hope I have this in the right order. I did it. Yes, I do. Here we go. Fourth place team in the NFC, the Dallas Cowboys.
Welcome to the mountain.
Dallas takes a lot of flack because they're the Dallas Cowboys, right? And losing Diggs, week 2 is a big deal, of course, for them. But the more I watch the Dallas Cowboys and the more I watch Dak Prescott play, I'm now a Dak guy. Dak is a good quarterback who is over-criticized, I think, because he's the Cowboy quarterback. And because, to be fair, he's only got the 2 playoff wins, only one of them on the road. But I decided to go upstream like a salmon, going to lay her eggs. All right, the Dallas Cowboys are a very good football team. They are very well coached, and we always sell Dan Quinn short, and we shouldn't. He's the second best defensive coordinator in football. The Jets, of course, have the best one. And the Dallas Cowboys, I know they got blown out by San Francisco. That might be the only team that can blow them out. I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to do a lot of winning, and I can't wait. I think it's week 9 when they play the Philadelphia Eagles, because the winner of that game will go right up to the top of my mountain, which brings me to number 3. Bang! Your Philadelphia Eagles.
You're a Philly.
Listen, I don't think their loss to the Jets is an anomaly. I think we learned a lot about the Eagles. The Eagles panicked. The Eagles very rarely the last 2 years have played in A, close games, and B, games that they're trailing in the fourth quarter. Signing Julio Jones is a panic move. Not running the ball with DeAndre Swift against a team that is susceptible to good running backs was a panic move. They showed up in New York and thought, oh, we're the Philadelphia Eagles. We never lose to the New York Jets. Oh, they've got Zach Wilson, easy peasy. And they got slapped by the Jets in front of 27 million people. They're still a really good team. They only have 2 losses in their last 24 regular season games, and that has to count for something. But much like Kansas City's offense doesn't seem right, Jalen Hurts has not played MVP caliber football this entire year, and it's a problem. Not a big enough problem where they got to worry about the playoffs, but a big enough problem where they're not going to have home field advantage, and they're not the best team in the NFC. San Fran is the second best team.
Okay. Yeah.
Coming off the loss.
How have they fallen?
I am a Brock Purdy guy.
Put it back.
I am a Brock Purdy guy. I think he's a legitimate MVP candidate. And even though they lost to the Browns, he got them in position to win that game late and stay undefeated. Injuries are a big problem for them now, whether it's Trent Williams, whether it's Debo, whether it's McCaffrey. If they are healthy, I put them at the top of the mountain, but they're not healthy, so I don't know what I'm going to get out of them week to week if they're missing 2 of their big guys.
Do it. Here it
so
comes.
San Fran,
Do it.
they
Here
may
it comes.
they may very well win the Super Bowl, but they're not the best team in football.
What? Who's climbing?
The best team, not just in the NFC, but the best team in the NFL right now today on October 18th are the D.
What is that?
They got the best record in football. They've got a no-name defense led by Aaron Glenn, their defensive coordinator, that is making a difference, getting turnovers, pressuring the quarterback. They're playing lights-out defense, and Jared Goff. It's funny. I talked about Brock Purdy being an MVP candidate, and Mahomes is always an MVP candidate. Jared Goff should be right now a top 3 or 4 candidate for MVP because that offense is as good right now as any offense in football. They are very well coached. They got a chip on their shoulder. They got the best record of football, and right now, the Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFL. Stop pushing me.
Get out of here. Let's clean this up, America, because Craig doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. The Buffalo Bills, when I drink something, I like to know what I'm drinking. We don't know who the hell they are. They got to go. But I do know who the Houston Texans are.
What?
Led by C.J. Stroud. The Miko Ryans in that defense. They're playing big-time football down in Texans, down in Houston. I love them. Now, I love me the Jets. You know, I'm a former Jets. But they're not better than the Baltimore Ravens. Why? Because their defense has come alive. Number 2 in total defense in the league. And I just got to switch this around. No, I think I have to say, yo, this is correct. I got the Dolphins, I got the Chiefs, so we're okay with that.
Okay.
Thank God.
But we got to switch this around. The Lions, right?
Oh, Willie.
They haven't beaten anybody.
Don't do that.
Right? They got a big test against the Baltimore Ravens this weekend.
Don't do that.
We'll see how it goes. They've only beaten 1 team.
Let them have their moment.
Yeah. Nah, they're not
Let
going to
them.
do that. I put it at number 4. That's where they go. I'm going to drop it over there.
Wow.
So I got the Ravens at 4. I got the Eagles right here, right? Eagles at 3. I got the Cowboys at 2. I like how they responded against the Chargers. Big. Dak played big. Defense played big. And obviously at number 1, King of the Mountain, San Francisco 49ers. Belong where they belong.
Good working with you, buddy.
Appreciate it.
All right, there you have my King of the Mountain, and it's been ruined by my dear friend Willie Clough. We got to take a quick break. On the flip side, Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons. Are people too sensitive and critical of what the Dallas Cowboys do? Jerry Jones speaks on it as well. We got lots more football coming your way right after this.
Good morning and welcome back to the Carton Show. Guess what? We have your early morning headlines, and it's all about that guy, Micah Parsons, who has a podcast, and it makes him part of the media, and he used this podcast platform to criticize other people in the media. Here's what he had to say.
I just don't condone the bashing of Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys and have the same energy for the Eagles. We want the same energy for everybody because there's a whole bunch of bashing when it's Dak Prescott, but not the same when it's the Eagles. I got time today. So why is it that we are just scrubs and we're nobodies that don't deserve to be on the field and we're just all talk, but there's 100 excuses for these other teams? If y'all just gonna hate Cowboys Nation, just say y'all hate Cowboys Nation. I'm tired of people trashing my quarterback. I'm tired of people trashing my team, and that's why I had nothing to say to the media this week.
Big shout out to the Bleacher Report for giving him the platform so we can then criticize the thing he says on it. Dudes, are the Cowboys treated unfairly by the media?
Yeah, but both ways. When things are good, we overblow them as the greatest team ever. And when things are bad, we overblow that they're the worst team ever. Dak Prescott's the most criticized guy in all football, but to be fair, so is Tony Romo before him. And that comes with the job of being the Dallas Cowboy quarterback. What I'm trying to figure out is who the heck he's listening to. I can't figure that out. I can only speak for what happens on this show, but on this show, there's been no outward Dallas Cowboy hatred or negativity or criticism. To the contrary, we said after the first 2 games, they look like the greatest team in the world, beating the Giants and the Jets by a combined score of 70-10. But here's the problem, and maybe problem is even too strong a word. When you want to be out there and give yourself a platform on camera with a microphone and talk and have millions of followers who are going to listen to what you say, start off with why you have that platform. Oh, that's right, because you play for the Dallas Cowboys. They've got more fans than anybody else, right? And number 2, the reason you didn't talk to the media last week was not because people are being critical of your quarterback, who, by the way, had 3 interceptions against San Francisco. It's because you had a bad game. Mm-hmm. And rather than just step up and acknowledge that you had a bad game, you hid from everybody. You decided to let everyone do their thing and rank on your quarterback and not speak out then to protect your quarterback, to support your quarterback. That comment would have a lot more weight and mean a lot more if you said it last Wednesday when Dak Prescott was fairly getting dragged through the coals after a 3-interception performance and a blowout loss to the one team everybody knows you guys currently cannot beat. Mm-hmm. So you can't talk trash after a win if you're not going to show up after a loss. But to be fair to him also, he's not a paid member of the media. He didn't go to school to be a broadcaster. And he's a player who's just showing you that he's an immature guy who's a great football player but wants to have his cake and eat it too. And unfortunately, when you say things like that, there are people on TV and on the radio for sure, and oh, by the way, who own your team and write your check that react that way week after week. The goods are higher than anything, and the bads are lower than anything. And you don't need the media for me to prove that to you. Go talk to your owner, because he leads that brigade.
Yeah, also, he's made himself the vocal leader of that defense. So if you got something to say, don't expect nobody to say anything back to you. On top of that, I played with a guy who was the face of our defense, in Troy Polamalu. He didn't say anything. Right. All he did was show up and go to work and put things on film. So Micah Parsons, these last 2 weeks, I give you Monday night's game. You haven't been the guy. You haven't been the heir apparent to Lawrence Taylor. You haven't been this dominant force that nobody can block. So, yeah, when you put yourself in that spotlight and you're vocal, people are going to come for your neck. That's just part of being a ball player in the NFL, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, but no one's more critical of the Cowboys than Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
So are you upset that Jerry Jones said negative things about your performance or Dak's performance or anyone on the team's performance? Listen, when you get drafted or traded for or signed by the Dallas Cowboys, you are going there with the understanding that the light is a little bit brighter on you than every other franchise because they're the Dallas Cowboys. Now, when you're winning and when you're personally playing really well, to the victor goes the spoils, right? You're going to make a boatload of money because you play a great brand of football for the Dallas Cowboys, right? But you can't have it both ways. You can't zip your lip after a 42-10 thrashing by the one team that you cannot beat. And then after you do win a game on national TV and your quarterback does play better, start talking about how you don't like the hatred. It don't work that way.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't work that way. I mean, we don't talk about any other owner because no other owner really talks about their team the way that Jerry Jones does. Every single season, we know what he's going to say. This is the team that I feel like can get it done. That sets the stage right there.
Yep.
And then all the players, to your point you made earlier, start chirping and chattering. And it comes out of the locker room first. And for us, all we do is respond to what we see on film and what we see on Sundays and Monday nights and whenever you decide to play these games. And if it's good, we're praising it. It's like, oh my goodness, the Cowboys have not only an MVP type of a defensive end, Dak Prescott, he is the future of their franchise. He is the face of their franchise. Mike McCarthy does look great. All these things are praised and heralded, but when you lose, you have to wear that as well. 100%. When you don't perform and you are the vocal leader and you are the most vocal person in that locker room, we're going to come at you as well. It doesn't mean we dislike you.
Yep.
It just means that this is the standard that we hold you to.
And let me just bring you back, if I may, to week 1 of the NFL season when they embarrassed the New York Giants 40-0. This is the quote from Dak Prescott after that. Hey, man, y'all thought this was a game? Nah, man, doomsday is back. Stick City is here. Dallas's defense is back, man. It's up for the league. Let's get it. We're 1-0. Where were you when you lost 42-10?
Right. Yeah.
Right? You're playing into the narrative that the media is too tough on you guys and your quarterback. But you're playing into it. Every player's got the right to have a podcast. Good for them. Mm-hmm. You have a platform, you have a voice, right? And you have a fan base that wants to hear what you have to say. But you can't play that game of woe is me, the media's too tough, and they're unfair, and they're critical when you lose and you disappeared. There's not a single quote attributed to Micah Parsons after they got embarrassed by the Niners. But they get back in the winning mark, and they beat the Chargers. All of a sudden, he's a tough guy behind a keyboard again. And it don't work that way.
But I love the player podcast movement because we'll criticize Micah for what he said, but he really feels that way. Like, he really feels that the media unfairly attacks the Cowboys, and that's just somewhat delusional because one thing I want to say to Micah Parsons is, Mr. Parsons, when you're playing an away game, when you're playing an away game and you look in the stands, you're going to see a lot of Cowboy jerseys. You're going to see a lot of Cowboy hats. And you're going to hear a lot of Cowboy fans. Do you know why? Because the Cowboys are the most popular teams in the NFL. That means you're going to be under the microscope. Another thing, Mr. Parsons, do you know why they get so much attention? Because you're good. You win games. When you are a good team year after year, we have success, not playoff success, but success over a decade, you're going to get talked about, fair or unfair.
Look,
and I think it's fair.
I said it an hour and a half ago, I'll say it again. If he doesn't like the burn that comes with being the best player on the Dallas Cowboys, go play for the Carolina Panthers, and we never have to hear from you ever again. And that'd be a shame because he is one of the great talents in football, and he seems like he's a great guy as well, but you just can't be that sensitive to criticism when you play for the Dallas Cowboys because you're the same guy after week 1 and 2 that announced we have the best defense in all football. His words, not mine. You gave up 42 points to San Francisco and you disappeared.
I'll even come off the top rope for you, Craig. You also was getting blocked one-on-one by fullbacks. Right? And tight ends. So if you're going to be an impact player, your impact players are never denied what they should do on the field, and that's dominate. You did not dominate against the Niners, and they showed up on tape. So, yeah, go to work and shut up.
Here's the good news. For the last 2 weeks, nobody's bringing up Lawrence Taylor's name when they talk about Micah Parsons.
No, that's 4 weeks.
That story, guy.
That went away quick. Moving on to our second big headline, and that involves the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers. We all saw him on the field throwing the ball around, and he spoke about how his recovery from Achilles surgery is progressing quickly. Here he is.
Obviously, we're ahead of schedule. There's a lot of factors to that. There's the way I've attacked the rehab. There's obviously the surgery that Dr. Elatrosh did. There's the rehab that I've done. All those things together still doesn't get you back on the field. You have to hit a bunch of different things and be feeling a certain way. But that's the goal. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to put a timetable on it specifically. That makes absolutely no sense.
So, Craig, he hasn't said, I'm excited to be back at OTAs next season. He's leaving the door just like a little bit open for him to play for the Jets this season. Do you think that could be detrimental to the locker room and specifically Zach Wilson?
No, I don't. Talking about coming back, I don't think it's detrimental to anything. And in a weird way, Jet fans have this weird amount of hope built into. Hey, can you imagine if Zach can just hold us there?
You picked the date he's going to come back.
Yes, you did.
Like I said, Jet fans have this hope that Week 18 against the New England Patriots, Aaron Rodgers Rodgers is my starting quarterback in a game we need to win to get into the playoffs. That's the dream scenario I've set up. Look, I spent yesterday online most of the day doing research on this because I felt like, me seeing him in the building on Sunday and him throwing the football, was I going to get carried away and really think that him coming back for that Week 18 game is possible? The fastest return of a torn Achilles in NFL history is our buddy Terrell Suggs. Came back in 5 months. That is the fastest return ever from a torn Achilles. And I know not every injury is exactly the same. And your body type, I made fun of the weight. Obviously, T. Suggs carries a lot more weight, but you get my point. 5 months is the fastest. He got hurt the first week of September. October, November, December, January, Super Bowl Sunday, Aaron Rodgers on the field. And then, of course, the big debate is going to be, wait a minute, Zach
Wilson.
Oh,
Zach here.
Who do you start?
And then it's going to remind us of, what was it, the 91 Giants, where Jeff Hostetler came in for Phil Simms, got them to the Super Bowl, and what did the Giants do? They kept Phil on the bench, and Jeff Hostetler won a Super Bowl. My point is this. The notion of him coming back is a cute story. It's fun. It lets us dream a little bit. Can Zach hold the fort and keep us just above 500 long enough where we get Aaron back in time to win a game or two to make the playoffs? But it's fool's gold. The thing that does bother me, and I do think is detrimental to the big picture of Zach Wilson's development, is him creating a spectacle of a potential return by going on the field at MetLife Stadium while the cameras are there and throwing the ball like that. Now, I get it. You're a guy. You have a football around you. We would all pick it up and play catch like anyone else would. So I get that part of it. Woody Johnson's son was playing catch on the field for an hour before the game. It's fun. I get it. The problem is that he could have done that at 9 o'clock in the morning if he wanted to. He was in the building, right? He could have done that at home.
Do it on Monday.
He could have done that in his backyard if he wanted to. But he chose to do it knowing that camera's 5 feet away from him. And he's throwing that ball. And look, you see a cameraman right behind him. So that is for a show. That is ego. That is, look at me, everybody. I'm coming back from a torn Achilles, and I'm still throwing the ball great, and I'm transferring my weight, and I look great. The reality, though, is what he said, and he was honest about it. Just because he might feel good, just because he wants to come back, you can't tell your body to heal and snap your fingers and it heals. The fastest return is 5 months. And even though I hold that hope that he's ready to play Week 18 against the Patriots, Aaron Rodgers will not play a single game for the New York Jets this season, and we got to wrap our heads around that.
Yeah, I just want him to keep the same energy. It's good to be around when the team is doing well, starting to flourish, if you will. But if this team, for whatever reason, takes a left, and when the Jets don't start to win games and things kind of go awry, will you still come around the building, right? Because that's when people are going to throw rocks at you. It's good when Zach was playing well, defense won you a game. We know you should be in the boot. You're saying you're not. Just still be around. If things go left, will you still be in the building throwing footballs on the field?
And by the way, the thing I really respect about Aaron Rodgers, and I think Robert Sala spoke to it on our show yesterday, is at this stage of his career, and because of the injury, he could just as easily rehab the entire time in California, stay home. He gets his $36 million regardless of whether he plays or not, and he's all good. And then he can decide to come back next year, and we'll welcome him back, with a huge embrace and a big wet kiss. Aaron Rodgers is back. Right. All's right in the world. So I do respect the fact that he wants to be a part of this, knowing he's not going to play. He wants to be with the guys. I just think his time could be better served if he is going to be on the sideline with a headset on. I do want his input. I do want him counseling Zach. Like Robert said to us yesterday, there were times during the game on Sunday where right before the snap, he knew exactly what the Eagles defense was going to do. Well, that only comes with experience and being, really a PhD level quarterback, which you can attest to because you played with him. I love having that on the sideline. I love having that guy in Zach's ear going, hey, look, if you see this kind of look, audible to that kind of stuff is money good. I just don't need to see him throwing a football on the field before the game.
No, and I would just add this: just if you're going to be back, we're you're going to, like, we're all going to be focused on you, but make it about the team when we do focus on you. And what I mean by that is what you're talking about. Have Zach Wilson be in his ear. Make sure that you're seen assisting these guys, not just taking some of the light and the shine away from these guys, because they're doing something without you that none of us thought that they could do. Even some of the Jet fans. So I would just caution him on how he's walking, when I know that's me talking to him, so he's not going to listen.
He was limping like a guy who had Achilles surgery a month ago. I saw him. He was a pronounced limp.
Where'd you see him?
He's not on the sideline.
Where were you at?
I was behind him.
You was right?
I was right behind him. Yeah, I spanked the pig before the game, guaranteed the Jet win, 12-0 with that. And then I sat front row, 30-yard line, watching Aaron Rodgers limp. That's what I saw.
There you go.
What else you got, Jacobs?
Moving on to our last headline. It involves the San Francisco 49ers. There's been some injury concerns. Well, some of those concerns were acquiesced. There's some news about Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, and Deebo Samuel, all of which injuries don't seem to be serious or long-term. They could be available for their Monday night game against the Vikings. Given that he will have his weapons back, do you expect Brock Purdy to bounce back from his previous, let's call it, mediocre performance?
Well, first off, we have a rule in the show that you can't use words you can't spell, so acquiesce is now banned from the show. Secondly, I have total confidence that Brock Purdy plays better and bounces back, because there's no defensive football better than the Cleveland Browns defense. And he's going to get some of those guys back, like you said. Whether he gets them all back this week or not, he's going to get a bunch of them back over the next couple of weeks. And they did say none of those injuries is season threatening. So the guys are going to come back. I view the Brock Purdy performance different than everyone else, I guess, in America. I wasn't bothered by it at all. Here's Brock Purdy, who had never lost a game. At some point, you're going to lose a game. At some point, you're not going to play well. But what I learned about Brock Purdy, some quarterbacks, when they're not playing well, they kind of go into a little hole and they never come out of it.
Right.
And they're then afraid to make plays, and the result is a loss. Brock Purdy played his worst game as a professional, okay? Overthrew guys, missed open guys. But with the game on the line against the best defense in the NFL, Brock Purdy still found a manner and a way to lead San Francisco into makeable field goal territory. And not just makeable, I mean easy makes for kickers these days. A 41-yard field goal for Moody, their third-round draft pick. That's what I learned about Brock Purdy, that playing bad football, he didn't crawl into his shell and hide from it. The guy went on the field and led them on what should have been a game-winning drive. Brock Purdy absolutely bounces back, and he's still, for me, a top 4 MVP candidate.
Yeah, they're going to beat the hell out of the Vikings, and this story's going to be dead by Monday.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
What's happening tomorrow in this program?
Tomorrow, the NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, joins us at 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. Don't miss it, because he doesn't do this that much, but he does it for us.